Welcome everybody to another QUANTACAST. This is again one of our professional series episodes, and this is episode 2 for us. So I'm really excited today to have Eddie Reid from Property Network of Australia with us, affectionately known as PNA. So welcome, Eddie.
Thank you for having me.
Eddie's been in business with his recruitment firm, specialists in commercial property, since 2013. They have offices in Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane. Brisbane being, I guess, the first iteration of the business, Eddie, and you've grown along that eastern seaboard, noting that I think you do business all around Australia.
Yeah, true.
And look, you work with the likes of some of the bigger agencies, Colliers, Goodmans, QIC, Stockland as well, and then also with funds such as Quanta, and we've been doing business together for over sort of 7 years now. So it's been a really great relationship. We have a real appreciation for the work that you've done with our particular business as well. So you've placed plenty of great staff with us that have stayed with us for a long time. But rather than me talk about PNA and where it's come from and what it's about, I'll hand over to you. So give us a little bit about the background about PNA.
Yeah, it started out as a one-man band back in 2013. Spent the first 10 months of that period actually working remotely from the UK. So doing back-to-front hours, starting at 10 p.m. at night. Had a Brisbane Skype number. Chatting to candidates, clients, like I had been in the previous 2 years when I was employed over here in Brisbane. Did that for 10 months, went really well, and then decided to go, let's push this forward. So did my first trip back to Brisbane in the October of 2013, and then did regular trips, kind of 6 weeks here, 2 months there, up until probably 2016 when we made the first hire. And really kind of pushed it forward from there. But one-man band under an ABN for the first financial year, and then PNA Pty Limited from 2014 onwards. So,
mate, that's fantastic, and it's great to see growth in all small businesses, and I know your reputation is building every day. Let's have a little bit of a chat about the market itself. Things haven't been overly fruitful for our industry this year, particularly in the transaction world, I suppose. So there's been a fairly big drop off of with the gap between vendor and purchaser. Has that affected the employment market in our industry? How do you see that for 2023?
It has. It's definitely softened. You just look at the revenue figures for the last financial year versus the previous one, and it's there in black and white, to be honest with you. Right. But that was to be expected because it was unprecedented what happened the year before. There was jobs being created, new roles being created in businesses where 12 months before just wouldn't have even been a notion on like owners' mindsets really. But out of nowhere, like I said, the money started to flow and things peaked, but I think we are starting to get back down to the general recruiting levels that we were seeing.
In the current market, as we said, the transactions have been limited. You placed Chris with us, Chris Carrigan, as a lot of people know for us, and we talk to Chris regularly. I know you catch up with Chris regularly, so in that space in particular, I'm not surprised that there's been a little bit of a flat spot there, but that'll change. I mean, without thinking too far ahead. Have you thought about 2024? And I know that you're very knowledgeable in the commercial property world. You invest yourself. You've got some investment with us here, which we'll discuss later on. And I know you dabble in some other funds as well. I know when we ever have a conversation, you're very aware of who's transacted what in the market, who's looking after what buildings, what portfolios are being sold. So, whilst we should have an insight here at Quanta, which we have a view, have you got a view of 2024 from, your dealings with all your clients? And if so, do you want happy to share that with us?
Yeah, I think, as you found in your own business, it's been a tough 12 months in terms of really kind of finding potential acquisitions and things that are going to stack up from an investment perspective, and that's what people have been saying right across the board. I think some of the larger groups that maybe look at more conservative investments have been able to invest more readily, really, in terms of looking at things that maybe aren't going to be offering out as such a high distribution as what you guys would maybe look for. So that there has been activity in some of the major groups. You see it in the press, but interesting how some of the more mid-tier organisations have been in the press announcing acquisitions, and then lo and behold, you find out that 3-6 months later, or whatever, that didn't actually end up happening. I had a conversation this morning with somebody about a building that had allegedly transacted, and I said that never happened, and it's still on the market. So I think we'll see things settling down a bit. There should be a bit more confidence in the market just in relation to where these rates are going and things like that, because it's obviously hard to navigate your way through that. And I think that obviously will have a knock-on effect with what we do as well. I'm hoping that there's more activity in that investment space because, you know, for us, they're the kind of roles that we want to go after, really. That they're attractive, they're fun to work with, and the people who are involved in those types of placements as well are generally people who are at the front end of what's going on in the market, as is Chris Carrigan, you know. So I think it'll be interesting. I think generally speaking, we will see a lot more candidates in the market, and I say that because from my experience, and I think most recruiters would say the same thing, because we see an awful lot of CVs. Generally speaking, whether employers want to hear this or not, people will start looking for a new role or having a bit of a sticky beak at a few different things between kind of 2 to 3 years of being in that role. And that could be because they feel as though they're not being challenged, or the salary hasn't gone up, or they just fancy doing something differently. And I guess us as a recruitment business would generally get more inbound inquiry from people who are getting to that kind of 2 to 3 year mark. Now, what COVID-19 gave to the industry in general, and I think this isn't just property, it's right across the board, it really accelerated people's desires to make a move, because there was a lot of money getting thrown around, there was a lot of salaries increases, a lot of newly created roles, and people who weren't necessarily looking are all of a sudden going, I can get paid 20k by just doing the same job going somewhere else. So then their colleagues would go, oh, he's just left to go to company X and he got a 20k pay rise, I'm going to look. What we find is that there was just an unbelievable amount of people who changed roles, which was great for us because that obviously stimulated a lot of activity for us. But what it also did was put more people than ever into that 2 to 3 year cycle of having a new job. So we're in the doldrums at the minute a bit, really, where people are
in the middle of that cycle.
Yeah, sitting there going, oh, you know what, I'm good for now. You know, I'm enjoying this role, or I'm going to give it another 12 months.
Or I've just found my rhythm in that role and working at the company.
Exactly. And for the guys that didn't make a move, chances are they were probably counter-offered and given a bit of a more of a financial incentive to stay by their current employers. So there's a bit of loyalty being bought there as well. So it has been very, very difficult over the last couple of years. You've got to really dig deep to try and find people, and, you know, absolutely forget getting candidates from, you know, online jobs boards and things like that, because the volume of applicants has dropped massively, as has the quality of candidates, because again, it goes to that whole thing. If you're sat in your cycle of that 2 to 3 years and you're getting your Seek responses coming through, you know, the job notifications, you're just deleting them because you're not in the mindset to take a look, and that's really impacted our quality of applicants that come through. So I think for a business like us that does not rely at all on online advertising for candidates, just because we've been in the market for such a long time, we've weathered that pretty well, because we'll always go to our database, our network, or referral network first generally. So that's helped us out a lot. But I think as we get through 2024 and certainly into 2025, there will be some big differences in the employment market, and I think that'll probably be mirrored by the fact that there'll be a lot more properties transacting towards the end of the year, I think. So we'll see what happens. But that's what I'm predicting. You know,
Good. Eddie, it's clear you've got a great knowledge of the industry, and well, as you talk about, from buildings to everything else, and I think that's hopefully helpful when you're choosing an investment. And you've, thankfully for us, you've invested in our last 3 opportunities, and you know you're in your early 40s, and we've got a large demographic of investors. So tell me, what's important to you in investment, and also what's your feedback on Quanta, and you know what do you like about investing with us?
Yeah, look, I think most people are going to be more comfortable investing in things which they understand. So certainly operating in the property industry and kind of being, you know, part of it for the last 12 years has helped massively, because you're familiar with it. You know, if I was doing pharmaceutical recruitment, I'd probably be investing in pharmaceutical businesses that you're familiar with, because you've got a bit more confidence about what it is because you know it. And I don't think that's any different for myself, really. I think from a Quanta perspective, again, again, as a business, we've got a close working relationship and have done for some time. I think there's an awful lot of transparency there, which is great. Nothing that you read that comes out of, Quanta collateral raises an eyebrow ever, but it's very consistent with what I know the market to be and things like that. So that's always good. I think the people who are involved at Quanta are probably the most important thing, really, because you can say an investment's going to do X, Y, and Z, but if it doesn't, then, and that's always the risk, then that's obviously always going to be a problem to an investor. But I think the people that you've got in the building, people like Chris Carrigan, who's obviously got an excellent reputation in Brisbane within that investment management space, that gives confidence that, what you're signing up for is going to give you, what you've signed up for, basically. And I know things can change over time, but I'm a pretty happy customer so far. As you mentioned, I'm invested in a few other funds, which are great, by the way. But I think in terms of the comms, the transparency, even just the branding and the ease of being able to jump onto the portal and things like that, everything is there at the click of a button. And if it's not, the guys are always on hand to kind of answer any questions that we may have and things like that. So excellent, really, in my view. It's been a really great experience.
And you would add to that, I suppose, reasonably good-looking gentlemen that work for the company in that particular area, investor relations as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think with a lot of investment businesses, who you're investing with is quite guarded. The collateral's there, but you don't actually understand the people, whereas doing things like the QUANTACAST is excellent because you actually get to understand the people in the business if you don't know them already. So again, that consistency of getting things out on social media, doing things like this is amazing, really, because you get to know the people. And I think if you're comfortable investing with the people, then that makes a world of difference. And I think with Quanta, there's no stuffiness there. I think probably property investment groups have got a reputation and a persona that it's a bit stuffy, whereas I think with Quanta, it's the exact opposite. And I think that said, probably opens it up to a younger demographic investor as well, because there's so many options out there these days in terms of shares and bonds and any type of investment, really. I think it gives confidence that you're investing with a friendly bunch who know what they're talking about and on top of the game.
Eddie, I really appreciate the feedback, and it's very positive for our team. And we always look for all kinds of feedback. So much appreciated. I'm glad at this point in time, and hopefully for the future, you're a happy investor. Look, thanks for coming on today. I do have to say we've known each other for about 7 years now, and that's all through a professional our professional network, and you doing business with us. And I we don't plug the people that come on these things, but I've got to say PNA do it differently. You do have very in-depth knowledge of the market, and the people that you place with us for a very, very large majority of the time have been long-termers for us and do a great job for us. So I'd highly recommend if anyone is looking for staff in that particular industry. But mate, thanks for coming on. We look forward to talking with you again perhaps sometime. And for everyone at home, thanks for watching today. We look forward to bringing you more professional series episodes in the future.